Alright, y'all, a quick little piece from Aperture. We talking therapy. I know a whole lot of people probably might have, their positive experiences off of therapy. But we are here gathered together, folks, to reveal, the dark side of therapy speak. You know what I mean? There's a whole bunch of therapy that can that can be proven to have worked 100% without any, I don't know, net negative side effects. You know what I'm saying? Let me put it that way. But for the most part, man, people have, recognized the negative side effects of this speak therapy. You know what I mean? And in this case, it's destroying your mind. What is this about, right? Let's hop in. Aperture.
Say something, feel like shit don't matter, so beware the fun cutting. It's volumes of demise. I hear the sound buzzing, so when she said she wanna die, and he sees she ain't bluffing, so he held her to the skies, cried sour momentum, passive with goodbyes.
Aperture. Again, I will say this. Mic check 1 2. Is we on? I think we are. I will say this. If any one of y'all are familiar with this channel right here, Aperture, man, W taste in content selection. Feel me? Because apparently, according to my to this channel right here, how therapy speak is destroying your mental health. Who expected that one? Right? That's why we gotta that's why we really gotta jump into topics like this. I feel like it's really necessary. People be missing a whole lot of things that might have their journey toward, into therapy, like feeling janky, feeling weird. It's like, yo, I'm doing all this therapy, like, but what, why am I still in the same freaking spot? There's no progress in my little, you know what I'm saying, mental health journey and all that, right? Let's get to it.
There's a strange shift happening in the way that we talk about our emotions.
Sometimes you have to be a little disrespectful to show them just how respectful you've been.
Respecting your boundaries, that's not disrespectful.
Here's what happens in a toxic family.
On the surface, this sounds emotionally intelligent. But the tragic truth is that behind this polished vocabulary is something far more disturbing. These words that were designed to heal us are now being used in ways that confuse us, divide us, and sometimes even harm us tremendously.
If we're having a conversation and you start using your therapy vocabulary on me, you're canceled. I'm over it.
When did emotional...
Wait. Therapy vocabulary. That's a thing. That's literally a thing. Therapy vocabulary. I mean, look. Excuse me. I've had my moments of, attending therapy and things like this. You know what I'm saying? I mean, for me, like, the experience felt textbooky. You know what I mean? Somebody that's going through a script, somebody that's just like gotta ask necessary questions, obviously, to try and help me get to the bottom of what's going on with me. You know what I mean? But the process was just like literally that. There was no like humanization, so to speak, in it. There was no soul within the process, especially when it came to like, the therapist speaking to me. So that's just what it was. I never thought it was this whole vocabulary outside of that therapy room. You know what I mean? I didn't know it was a thing, like, to be like, yo, what? Wait, you're using that therapy language on me right now. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
Intelligence become a competition.
Let me just say, I've never heard it. This is new to me. I don't know about y'all.
When did therapy concepts become a way to win arguments? And when did every normal conflict get labeled as abuse? How therapy speak is destroying your mental health. Before I get into any of the criticism, I do want to start with a bigger picture.
What's that?
Whenever someone points out the problems with therapy speak, people often react by assuming that it's an attack on therapy itself or on mental health awareness. I want to be abundantly clear. This is not the case. In fact, what society has achieved around mental health in the last few decades, in my humble opinion, is one of the most important social transformations of the modern era, and you can quote me saying that. There was a time, and not even that long ago, when talking about your mental health made you seem weak. Heck, even when I was going through high school, it seemed like a...
No, I will say that, you know, kind of like a negative connotation, you know what I'm saying, type of effect. Because, you know, revealing what's wrong about you, is literally gonna do that to other people. Reveal what's wrong about you. And obviously, you know, I don't know, yeah, I will go ahead and assume that, you know, we got this built-in or innate reaction to kind of just come off as clean as possible, you know what I'm saying, to other humans. I don't know, so that we can be able to go ahead and be taken seriously, you know what I'm saying, so that, you know, our self-preservation can just like, yeah, be validated for some reason. But like, you know, the whole clean image, like, or at least decent, you know what I'm saying, basically the NPC version of you know what I'm saying, like following the orders, being decent in public, having manners, things like that, you know what I mean. So now if you're gonna reveal some mental health, well, what is going on? It's the caffeine. Kids, don't take the caffeine early in the morning. It's like, okay, it's like 10 a.m., 10:41 right now. So, yeah, it got my shit cooked. It got my brain cooked. Take a breath. You know what I'm saying? So if you're gonna go ahead and reveal a mental illness about yourself, it's like you kind of revealing an aspect to people, you know, for them to kind of dismiss. Right? And that dismissal can just be in the front of smothering you. Oh, it's okay, yeah, you know, and then just dismiss you and not take you seriously, kind of. You feel me? Not take you serious. Oh, it's okay. Nah, he's just being himself. Nah, don't mind him. That time, you know what I'm saying? You might be saying some truthful shit. Hello, yay? Feel me? So I'm just saying, like, I feel like that was the whole thing that people were looking at in, you know, being reluctant in revealing what's wrong about their mental.
Taboo. Trauma
Big taboo,
was something people were expecting to bury. Depression was seen as laziness. Anxiety was being viewed as a character flaw. Therapy was for people who were considered mentally unstable, and everyone else was expected just to get on with things and suffer silently. If you were struggling, you were told to toughen up, stop complaining, and get over it.
Get over it.
And the landscape has changed dramatically in the late 20th century, especially with the introduction of the DSM-3 in 1980. That moment marked a turning point because mental disorders were finally standardized, categorized, and recognized in a way that doctors, courts, and institutions could document and understand.
Yeah.
PTSD, which had existed throughout human history, became a legitimate diagnosis. Veterans who found it hard to reintegrate to society after their traumatic service were no longer dismissed as weak or broken. Survivors of trauma were no longer ignored or ridiculed. They finally had language, recognition, and support. And this is all to say...
isn't that like saying the world was finally sensitive to, you know, the harm or the damage or the side effects that have left, you know, veterans kind of insane, right? For lack of a better term. It's like people were finally like, ooh, nah, I'm telling you, bro. Get enough sleep, cause yo, this is a bad look for me right now, I know. But please excuse that. So yeah, I'm just saying, like, people were finally just like seeing how, you know, these veterans were affected by things like the war and shit like that. They had to, like, encapsulate a whole kind of diagnoses about it, and obviously that had to open shit up to people.
Labels, when used appropriately, are incredibly valuable. They act as informational shorthand that communicate seriousness. When a doctor gives someone a diagnosis, it protects that person. It communicates that they need care rather than judgment. A signal that says this person deserves support and understanding. As millennials and Gen Z grew up, something even more transformative occurred.
What happened?
These generations began talking about mental health even more openly. They rejected the old shame-based systems and forced society to adapt. Workplaces had to acknowledge burnout and employee well-being. Schools began offering counseling as a normal resource. Friends encouraged each other to seek therapy, and being in therapy became a sign of self-awareness rather than a moral failure or mental weakness. I don't want to overstate this, but I think it bears repeating. The destigmatization of mental health is one of the greatest
break that down.
Real therapy, practiced by trained professionals, is not only helpful, but often life-saving.
Oh my God! Did you hear what he just pointed out? Right, real therapy, right? Real therapy. We talking about human to human kind of therapy, because there's aspects where it's like human has to connect to you to even, resonate with the authenticity of what you're trying to relay, aka what you're trying to tell them what's wrong about them. There's other aspects that just like, need to be present for that to feel organic. So, for example, if you're gonna tell me what's wrong with me, at least relay it emotionally, so I understand it also from an emotional level instead of just like an intellectual level. You feel me? Like, for example. So, but then now with that being said, I like the fact that he pointed the fact that it's real therapy. Hello AI. Hello ChatGPT therapists. We see what, where that kind of thing is going, or where, technology's going to a point where once these kind of things are replaced, real therapy, oh my God, we can only imagine, like, you know what I mean? The level of real connection in terms of therapy and the authenticity of therapy.
Therapy speak, when used inside of its intended setting, just like medicine, is also a valuable tool. Words like boundary, trauma, attachment, and regulation help people navigate their emotions and communicate them much more effectively. But
what?
Something has happened along the way.
What's that?
Somewhere between the therapist's office and TikTok, between clinical journals and Instagram infographics,
talk about it.
The terminology escaped into the general population. What started as a precise and powerful vocabulary for healing slowly transformed into a cultural trend. The more widely the language spread, the more detached it became from its intended purpose. And once that happened, something that was designed to help people began to be used in ways that often do the opposite. And
begins to harm people.
This is where the real story begins. When clinical words used in therapy become therapy speak. The memification of therapy.
Okay.
Therapy, in its true form, is a slow process. It's built on trust, nuance, care, and patience. Ask anyone who's been to therapy and they'll tell you it takes a really long time to make progress.
It does. And I can actually reveal, like, that was one of the reasons why I ended up tapping out, because I was kind of impatient in terms of getting to the bottom of things. That's why, for me, it kind of felt like textbooky, bro. You know what I mean? Because we also have to consider the fact that, the person that's delivering the therapy, their expertise, you know what I'm saying? They're just heart put into this thing where it's not just like, I'm a qualified therapist or whatever. I'm just doing it for that, and the pay is good. You feel me? The pay is good. You feel me? Let's go. It's like there are those levels of just intentionality with with what you're doing as a therapist. You know what I mean? I can say that they are therapists who, yeah, like you could sense their heart in it, and so therefore that kind of leads you to open up, take it seriously, so that you go ahead and have the patience to see it through until you reach your healing, right? Yeah, W. Looking for the coin then. You know what I mean? So, but with what I've experienced, bro, no, I can't. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the kind of people that, like, I would say it's the kind of people that told me nothing different, you know, versus what I had already told myself and concluded my own self about my own situations. Yes, I understood the fact that I ain't got a job was the fact that, yo, it contributes to my depression. So what's the point of me, like, paying a therapist to tell me that same thing that I realized myself? You understand what I'm saying? So for me, it was like, yeah, there's that, and then there were situations or instances where I would see a therapist kind of trying to, you know, put the effort in and things like that. But yeah, that one just, with that therapist that kind of took things seriously, yeah, it, like, my whole journey into that kind of had to be cut abruptly. You know what I'm saying? Because of changed locations, etc. So, you know, I'm just saying though, it's like, hey, you know, I've never gotten to a point where we reach like that, the point where, yo, therapy is working for me. You know what I mean? It was always like, yo, it's kind of a waste of money. I'm not gonna lie. At that point,
It's not a quick fix, and
yeah.
as a result, it does not translate well into platforms that reward speed, simplicity, and emotional impact.
Dopamine.
In an
Dopamine.
algorithmic world, nuance, it can't survive. What thrives are short, bold, oversimplified statements like, here are 5 signs you might have anxiety, or a single behavior being oversight. It's psychology without the psychologist.
Yeah.
This is what many researchers describe as a flattening of nuance. Ideas that were originally designed for one-on-one discussions, guided by trained professionals, are being compressed into fast, digestible content.
Of course.
Concepts that took decades to study are being distilled into sound.
Like, compacted into just like short form video formatted kind of, you know, information vehicles. You know what I'm saying?
Bites meant to be scrolled past in seconds.
Oh,
The situation becomes even stranger when people begin using AI tools as
there we go. My whole question was about to go into AI, and I did reveal, you know, the whole AI thing, that now, since we're going into a world where it's nothing but AI, you know, you might as well just like ask ChatGPT what's going on with you. You know what I'm saying? So now, yo, if people are scared about the fact that or if people are mad concerned at the fact that, you know, we seeing these therapeutic session kind of you know, details being shared on like TikTok and shit. Imagine if you can just like ask, you know, Gemini, what's wrong with you? And then having that as your, like, authentic diagnosis.
makeshift therapists.
Makeshift
Users will give
therapists.
prompts that instruct the model to act as an emotionally supportive counselor. The model responds with compassionate language because that is what the user asked for, but there's no human context, no clinical reasoning, and no professional responsibility. The person feels heard, but they're not actually receiving any treatment. They're just receiving simulated empathy. And don't get me wrong, AI can be a helpful reflection tool similar to journaling, but using it as a replacement for therapy blurs very, very important boundaries. It creates the illusion of support without the structure or, more importantly, accountability that real mental health care requires. And all of this is contributing to a major cultural shift. Therapy language is no longer confined to therapy. It's everywhere. It's on TikTok, in group chats, on dating profiles. It's in corporate memos, influencer captions, and even political debates.
And you know what's crazy? I feel like we are dead into the culture or into the world where, you know, people are selling courses doing these things, right? So absolutely expect somebody to sell you a course at the end of that soundbite, right? Or at the end of that TikTok video that just told you that no, you're schizophrenic because you see these 3 things in your dreams. 3-minute soundbite. Gone. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, by the way, link is in the description. Buy my course. We're in that world, bro. You know what I mean? And now obviously when we're talking AI is gonna copy, you know, it's gonna take these as the instructions of how therapy is delivered anyway. Now once AI gets its hands on this thing, it's like a battle of the corporate, you know, these corporate giants, and like the bigger giant is the one that's making more money out of, hey, maybe even falsely diagnosing, you know, motherfuckers off of you know, mental illnesses, you know, bro. It could get really tricky, dog. I can see it getting really, really tricky, really fast.
These words have been absorbed into the mainstream, but minus the very important context that gives them a usable meaning.
Yep.
And once therapy language became internet language, it also became a form of social currency. Using the right therapeutic buzzwords makes people sound emotionally intelligent. It signals that they're informed, and so it has become an aesthetic of intelligence and maturity.
Aesthetic.
But this begs the question,
what?
How did therapy speak go from almost being shunned by society to becoming not just popular in and of itself, but also making the speaker appear more valuable? The traumatic rise of therapy speak.
Wait. Now I feel like it just makes you sound smarter. You know what I'm saying? It just makes you sound smarter, because now what's gonna happen? You're gonna go ahead and diagnose your friends. Yep. Tell your friends, no. They're not supposed to treat you like that. You're actually being abused. Oh, yeah. Oh, shit. My friend is intelligent. She just told me I got PTSD. Huh? Yeah, it makes you sound smart. Makes you sound intelligent. Makes you sound like you know what you're talking about. And so therefore, yeah, like therapy speak was born, right? The traumatic rise of therapy speak.
There are several reasons why.
Like the trauma talk, you know what I'm saying? Like the smother talk, you know what I mean? They're a narcissist, you know what I'm saying? You know, just based off of maybe these points that you've heard on TikTok. Oh no, he's abusive. Oh no, you know, I don't know. It's traumatic. It's toxic. Red flags. Right? I don't know. Drop more in the comments, bro, or in the chat or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like this is just my assumption of you know, the therapy terminology type shit.
Why therapy speak became so popular so
Let's
quickly.
hear it, though.
The first is what philosophers call, and I adore this phrase,
What's that?
epistemic authority.
Shit.
When you use clinical language like epistemic authority, you sound like you're appealing to an
Okay, no. I've never heard of this one. I'm not gonna lie, I've never heard of this one.
objective truth. You sound like you are diagnosing something real.
That's what I'm saying.
You're no longer expressing an opinion, you're stating a fact.
Sounding smart.
Instead of saying, I don't like that behavior, you say, that behavior is toxic.
Toxic! Nah. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. Round of applause. I got that one right. Let's do this. I'm gonna go ahead and, you know what I'm saying? Toxic is one of them. Feel me? I think red flag too. Red flag might be another one of them. Let me see. Let's see. Go on, brother.
Instead of saying, "Oh, I'm really upset," you say, "I'm triggered."
I'm triggered.
One version sounds subjective. because
Triggered.
it is.
Yeah.
The other sounds definitive. It gives people a sense of credibility that, well, they might not actually have. And the second reason is something that I prefer to call the aesthetics of intelligence. Using therapy language makes people feel enlightened. It makes them feel like they have a deeper understanding of themselves and others. It gives the speaker a sense of moral authority, as if using therapy buzzwords proves that they are emotionally sophisticated.
Yeah.
Even when somebody is simply expressing a personal preference, the language makes it sound like a clinical observation.
Okay.
It's like when people start using the French versions of words to sound more posh. You know, those words that have a certain je ne sais quoi to them.
What? Nah, brother. I'm like, yo, what did that mean, y'all? Drop that in the comments. What is that?
There's also what I like to call the HRification of intimacy.
What is that?
And I want to touch on this.
Do
by
that.
the way. It's random, but adding ification to words to create the derived version of that word is a brilliant linguistic move, if I can toot my own horn. It's something you can immediately understand without having to think twice. I'll rattle off a few. The Mr. Beastification.
Oh,
TikTok.
TikTokification.
It's just over.
Yeah.
HRification. HRification.
HRification.
You just immediately get what I mean, even though those aren't really
Dark modification.
words, you know? Anyway, I digress. What was I? Oh, right. So, therapy speak makes personal relationships sound like workplace arguments. Instead of saying, "I feel hurt when I no longer have the capacity to hold space for this interaction."
Oh.
The phrasing creates this.
Nah, but I'm not gonna lie, boys. Like, that should be like regular language. It should be regular language. Come on, bruh. Y'all readers, right? Y'all be reading, right? Come on, bruh. Like, that should be part of, like, the daily vocab. I'm not gonna lie. Shout out Kai Cenat. I know y'all follow through with him. How far is he with his reading, right? Do what he's doing. I'm telling you. It should be regular language.
It's emotional distance. It takes a messy human moment and reframes it as a bureaucratic process. It provides a sense of safety because bureaucratic language feels a lot less vulnerable, and it allows someone to deliver criticism, rejection, or discomfort with the tone of a company memo. These factors combined make therapy speak incredibly tempting to use. It feels empowering. It makes us feel intelligent. It gives the illusion of clarity and professionalism.
Yep.
But this is also where problems start to crop up.
Where's that?
Because once this language spreads outside of therapy, people start applying it in situations where it does not belong. They use it to justify avoidance, to protect their ego, to control others, or to pathologize.
Oh, I think ego is another one. It's another one of those terms. Right? Ego. Big ego. You know? Ego, like, yeah. I get it.
Normal, everyday experiences.
Egotistical.
And that brings us to the central critique of this entire video.
What's that?
Therapy speak is no longer just a vocabulary. It's become something of a weapon. It's being used to win arguments, to avoid accountability and diagnose people who have done nothing more than annoy us. How therapy speak gets weaponized online. This is the heart of the issue.
Where is it?
Therapy speak, despite its helpful origins, has evolved into a tool that can distort reality, erode relationships, and undermine actual mental health care.
Yeah.
And it gets weaponized in several ways. First, you have the over-pathologizing of normal human emotions.
Okay.
One of the biggest problems is that therapy speak encourages us to pathologize feelings that are completely normal. Researchers like Alan Horwitz and Jerome Wakefield have warned about this for decades, actually.
What they say?
When ordinary sadness gets labeled as depression, or normal grief is described as a disorder, we begin to lose the ability to distinguish everyday emotions from clinical conditions. We're also losing the vocabulary for normal interpersonal conflict. Instead of saying, well, I don't get along with this person, people instantly label that person as toxic. Instead of saying that we disagree, they say that I'm being emotionally abused. The language escalates the situation and transforms.
Yeah, especially the abusive language, right? Oh no, it's so abusive. It's so this, that, and the third. I'm saying, especially like we see generations like Gen Z throw this around in terms of, I mean, I'm at a place where, yeah, I did grow up with like corporal punishment. You know what I'm saying? Around me. You know what I mean? Where literally that, belt to ass. Like in reality, belt to ass. I know these days, it's used just loosely, ambiguously. It's just, yeah, belt to ass, just as a as something not real, like intangible. You know what I'm saying? Something not literal. Yeah. So, belt to ass shit, like I used to experience that shit. And so therefore, a whole lot of Gen Zs would actually look at that kind of thing and be like, yo, we were being abused. You know what I'm saying? Even a whole lot of millennials. You know what I mean? Older ones too. Since, we grew up when the internet like literally also got its wings and we were still like youngins. And we, that transition happened while our minds were still kind of impressionable, still kind of like absorbing some shit, not fully developed. And so by the time, the internet was out here, and then you see these quotes of like, you were actually being abused. If you physically like, kicked, or slapped across the face as a kid. Yo, my fault. Yo. I didn't mean to re-trigger. Ooh. One of them buzzwords. Trigger. Feel me? I didn't mean to re-trigger people, based off of their past experiences. But I'm just saying, it's like, a whole lot of the younger generations would see that as abuse again. So any form of just like being in conflict with somebody or whatever, all of a sudden you're being abused. It's like, or you know what I'm saying, just getting that belt to ass, even figuratively. You know what I'm saying? Being put in your place. Since you be acting out of pocket and shit. But now all of a sudden you're being abused. Hey, and by the way, I'm not talking about no domestic situations, right? Like, I don't know what be going on in like people's relationships and things like that. So in those contexts, yo, abuse is abuse, man. Like, take that shit seriously. But still not right, so that's why I'm like, yo, take it seriously.
Forms a simple, everyday conflict into a moral or a psychological diagnosis. Another consequence is the medicalization of internal disorder rather than a reaction to external pressures like overwork, financial stress, or social inequality. And by framing everything as an individual issue, we're ignoring the systems that create these stressors in the first place. When everything is trauma, we miss the real causes of suffering, and we also strip the word trauma of its seriousness. Therapy speak also fuels a phenomenon psychologists call concept creep. Over time, psychological terms begin to expand in meaning until they cover milder and milder experiences.
Right.
Trauma no longer refers to life-threatening events. It becomes any situation that leaves you unpleasantly surprised. OCD no longer refers to a debilitating condition. It becomes a preference for cleanliness and organization. Every animal behavior research shows this pattern. The term canine aggression once referred to violent attacks, but over time, it has grown to include something as harmless as a small dog barking. This widening of definitions distorts our understanding of reality. If someone calls a bad boyfriend a narcissist, they are turning a specific set of behaviors into a fixed, pathological identity. If someone accuses their partner of gaslighting during a normal argument where one is just trying to defend themselves, they're framing a disagreement as intentional psychological abuse. The language encourages people to assume malice, where there might just be misunderstanding or, at worst, frustration.
Alright, cool. Quick word from our sponsors, and then we'll be back with it.
Fat lady sings, I see the writing on the walls. I mean, back to the scene, cause it was pride before the fall, and now it's just over.
Alright, y'all. A quick little piece from Aperture. We talking therapy. I know a whole lot of people probably might have, their positive experiences off of therapy. But, we are here gathered together, folks, to reveal, the dark side of therapy speak. You know what I mean? There's a whole bunch of therapy that can, that can be proven to have worked 100% without any, net negative side effects. You know what I'm saying? Let me put it that way. But for the most part, man, people have, recognized the negative side effects of this speak therapy. You know what I mean? And in this case, it's destroying your mind. What is this about, right? Let's hop in. Aperture.
Say something, you feel like shit don't matter, so beware the fun cutting. It's volumes of demise. I hear the sound buzzing, so when she said she wanna die, and he sees she ain't bluffing, so he held her to the skies, cries, sour momentum, passive with goodbyes. I'd rather you tell him, but now the truth is I've digressed from all the.
Alright, part two, man. Part two. Mic check. Hope the mic is on. Good. Still kicking it with Aperture. Talking about speak therapy and how that's destroying your mind. You know what I'm saying? I feel like for the most part, it's covering the whole, dynamic where the whole self-diagnosing, you know what I'm saying, type of culture, type of trend, where you hear people using speech like, your traumas, you're mentally ill, no, you're abusive, you know what I'm saying? This kind of, oh, you're toxic, this kind of language, from having went through therapy, from, the theoretic knowledge of these things, and them going on therapy to now, in present day, all this kind of language just being casually used because they see them on TikTok videos. You know what I'm saying? They see, little 1 to 3 minute video bites of how you can diagnose your neighbor, whether they have PTSD or not. You feel what I'm saying? Through TikTok videos and all of that. So, just the transformation of this therapy speak and how it's easily even used out of context. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's the part two, ladies and gentlemen, Aperture. I don't know if y'all want me to just zoom in on it. But then again, since this is what I always do, you know what I'm saying? There you have it. Boy, Aperture, man. Alright, let's continue, man.
Might just be misunderstanding or, at worst, frustration.
Yeah.
The dilution of these terms, gaslighting during a normal argument where one is just trying to defend themselves, they're framing a disagreement as intentional psychological abuse. The language encourages people to assume malice, where there might just be misunderstanding or, at worst, frustration.
Mm-hmm.
The dilution of these terms also harms people who genuinely suffer from the conditions being discussed. When everyone claims to have trauma, OCD, or a personality disorder, the terms begin to lose their meaning. People with severe conditions are pushed aside because the language that once protected them is now used casually by everyone else. It's like someone with a mild leg pain. using a parking spot
Oh,
designated
shit.
for people with genuine mobility issues.
Yeah.
There's also the issue of using these words as a way to avoid responsibility. Terms like boundary, bandwidth, capacity, and emotional labor are used as escape routes. Instead of being honest about not wanting to do something, people frame their decision as a mental health necessity.
Whoa.
Instead of apologizing for hurting someone, they say their trauma made them do it.
Oh, shit.
Instead of engaging in
Oh, yeah, the kind of thing where it's like, yo, you know, my PTSD was triggered. My PTSD was triggered, that's why I pulled the trigger. Whoa. Do you even have an authentic medical diagnosis? No, I heard it from a TikTok video that, you know, I behave like this. It's my schizo. That's, come on, bro. Ooh, shit. Okay. I hear you.
difficult conversations, they shut them down
Yep.
by claiming they're triggered by the topic. That language acts like a shield. If someone critiques your behavior, you can just dismiss it by saying that they're violating your boundaries or harming your mental health.
Yeah.
It blocks dialogue and it prevents growth. It creates a one-sided dynamic where the person using therapy speak demands unlimited
That's AI. She's AI, right?
compassion while offering nothing in return. One of the clearest examples of this misuse was the case involving Jonah Hill.
What happened?
When the text that he allegedly sent his partner got leaked and sparked a massive public conversation. He claimed he was setting boundaries by telling his partner that she couldn't surf with men or post certain photos.
Yeah.
But those aren't boundaries.
What's
A
that?
real boundary is about your
Oh, and you know what's a good one for this example right here? People are quick to be like, yo, nah, that's not a boundary. That's what? That's an insecurity. I know y'all heard about the insecurity one. Oh, nah, that's an insecurity. It's not a boundary. Like, once you're a man, especially, and then you start like setting these, I don't know, traditional boundaries, like when it comes to your relationship and how to keep that, you know, pure and sanctified, and you know what I'm saying? Let's stay away from temptations. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, you be telling your girl, yo, you're so fine, I don't need you on social media ever. You know what I'm saying? No, that's just an example. That's an example. You know what I'm saying? But you know, people can call that an insecurity. No, he's just an insecure man. Yo, I'm trying to not, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to not let nobody like creep up on you like that. Call me insecure for like trying to look out for us. Feel me? No, he's insecure. No, he's not supposed to. No, how dare he want you to cover your whole body head to toe, oh, just because you know you're his girl now. It's like, okay.
reaction to certain situations, not what someone else has to do for you. For example, setting a boundary is saying, if this situation continues, I'm going to step back, and not, you have to change yourself to make me comfortable. By framing a personal preference as a mental health need, the person creates a situation where any disagreement becomes an attack on their well-being.
Right.
If someone says, this is my boundary,
What happens?
you cannot question it without appearing harmful. This ends the negotiation. It completely ends communication. It implies that the speaker's emotional needs override the other person's autonomy. This misuse appears in smaller situations too. If you accuse someone of gaslighting during a regular argument, you're essentially declaring that your perception is the truth and that theirs is an underhanded manipulation. It gives you an unfair advantage and turns conflict resolution into a psychological battle. Another force behind this weaponization is the way social media algorithms operate. The internet rewards content that is dramatic, emotional, and absolute.
Yeah.
Saying this behavior is narcissistic, well, it's bound to get more attention than saying that
Yeah, because now you're revealing something that, you know, the consumer of this content, you're revealing something that they didn't realize about this person that they may be researching about. You know, watching your video. Talking about, yo, nah, that person is a narcissist. Just because they pushed you, you know, they shoved you away from the elevator door while they were trying to get to work quick because they were in a hurry, you know what I'm saying? And it was just like a spur of the moment, like they really might have not meant it. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But oh shit, toxic. Nah, he's toxic. You know what I'm saying? But like, it's like, yo, you're revealing something because, you know, somebody might just like do a little foul play on you, right? And then you might blame yourself. You're like, nah, is it me? Is it, especially the ones who are overly sensitive and overly just like psychoanalytical, you know what I'm saying? And they're so self-aware that they just like question everything, like about a little ass moment that just didn't mean anything or is not supposed to mean anything. You know, they might question themselves and they'll be like, no, it must have been their fault, right? Okay, shit, let me research more about like what's wrong with somebody who acts like that. You know what I'm saying? And then boom, you find out they're a narcissist. Oh my god, it's like you got ammo on them. Of course, and a whole lot of people, they have a whole lot of people around them that they want to find, you know, dark info about. You know what I'm saying?
This is a minor communication issue. I mean, just narcissistic sounds like it has more punch. Influencers and therapists alike feel pressured to produce content that resonates immediately, which often means simplifying or exaggerating clinical ideas. So what we end up with is mental health advice optimized for virality, not accuracy.
The clickbait culture.
And themselves and others, even when the content is poorly grounded or even misleading. And all of these problems accumulate and lead us directly into the consequences that are affecting real mental well-being. How this harms actual mental health. All of this misuse of therapy language eventually loops back around and begins harming the very thing it was meant to protect. When clinical terms become social tools, aesthetic choices, weapons and arguments, or currency for online validation, they create real damage. And that damage shows up in the way people relate to others, in the way they understand themselves, and in the way they navigate problems that used to be considered a part of ordinary life. One of the clearest consequences is something that psychologist Dr. Anna...
Well, until you wake yourself up, right? I feel like you only fall for this kind of language and internalize that and, you know, identify with that. Only if you just like... Only if you stay an NPC, right? So until you wake yourself up and be like, nah, this is that therapy speak that's like, you know, miscontextualized, right? At this point, it's like you could brush it off and you can start even realizing moments when you don't have to label things out of context. You yourself, you know what I'm saying? You might just be able to catch yourself out. You know what I mean? Until you wake yourself up and be able to do that and catch it out, like, nah, they're using one of those toxic therapy speak phrases again, right? Then it won't mean anything to you. But for as long as like you stay asleep, you stay an NPC, of course, like you are whatever, you know, therapy speak, you know, refers to you as.
Has been described as building a moat of water around a fortress. People begin using boundaries, capacity, and emotional labor as rigid walls rather than flexible guides. They create a system where any relationship that requires effort becomes a threat to their well-being. Instead of negotiating, apologizing, or even listening, they default to cutting everything off. The moat grows deeper and wider until it becomes almost impossible for anyone to get close to them. Well, the irony is that this intense focus on self-protection usually leaves people more isolated than ever. We're seeing this reflected in what many experts are now calling the loneliness epidemic. People are living more individually than at any point in human history, even though we have the technology to be closer than ever before. We're spending more time on our phones, less time in our communities, and less time doing the difficult but meaningful work of maintaining our friendships.
And I feel like because our phones got the information that we want to hear. It's like it's like my phone can talk to me nicely. You know what I'm saying? Can talk to me sweet. Feel me? It's like, and on top of that, it tells me what I want to hear. Now look, I don't want to lie. I've used, you know, this whole therapy speak thing as like, yeah, should I say a weapon? For lack of a better term, man? Come on, man. You know what I'm saying? We listen and we don't judge. Yo, how about that for toxic therapy speak? listen and we don't judge. So aka don't judge me. Okay, so I've used this whole therapy speak to just like as a tool for clarification in terms of like what I was going through with relationships such as family, man. You know what I'm saying? Myself and just like my siblings, myself and friends, potential friendships that could have been like dope, you know, and cool and really beneficial. I've written those off because, you know, I would conclude that somebody is like, man, toxic and da da da. Whereas, you know, I do have the understanding that you cannot write a person off based off of the fact that, you know, you're seeing just one, you know, shortcoming, you know, and then you write them off as, yeah, nah, they're too codependent, bruh. Like, nah, we don't need none of, you know what I'm saying? And then it's like, and as a result, I'm not gonna lie, I'm the loneliest I've been like my whole life. You know what I mean? Of which, you know, I've got my elements of balancing that out with things that help me escape into worlds where I can feel connected, aka, you know, the online verse where we at right now. Shout out to you if you've made it this far in the video. You feel what I'm saying? Give it a like, man. I feel like, you know, aperture cooked right here. Give the reaction a like, I don't know, subscribe, you know, the whole good, all that sweet stuff. Talk to me sweet. Come on, what are we doing? Feel me? So I feel like that's a cool little balance, or, you know, that just makes up for how I've come to isolate myself or build a lifestyle that just like is isolating, you know, to a point where it's like it's so deep. The only place I feel social is at my work spot. Like, yeah, like it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like it works for me. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, just a sidebar to be like, I have used this therapy speak thing, especially the, you know, the part where it has fried my brain. You know, it is what it is. You just gotta admit it.
You hear words like, it takes a village, but no one realizes that village isn't just about free labor. You need to be able to show up for those people emotionally and otherwise. The cultural message tells people to remove anyone who drains their energy, and as a result, individuals find themselves with fewer and fewer sources of support. This hyper-individualistic approach creates a world where people say things like, I would rather stay in bed than deal with the messiness of connection. The internet even glamorizes this behavior, turning social withdrawal into a quirky personality trait. But loneliness? It's not cute. It's one of the most dangerous public health issues that we are currently facing. It increases rates of depression, anxiety, physical illness, and even leads to premature death. And yet, the rhetoric of therapy speak often encourages people to withdraw from conflict instead of developing resilience within their relationships. And this actually segues me nicely into my next point, which is the erosion of...
And you know, like to the last point that the brother just made over here, right? The fact that, you know, it's the kind of isolation crisis that, you know, has come to plague society so much that it leads to these negative things, including premature death. You know, I feel like it's, you know, you got to get to a point where you realize you cannot handle it. You know what I mean? And like that's just me being honest. You know what I'm saying? There's people that literally they can handle just like a life of isolation. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like isolation is there to teach you. Also, I feel like if it's this might be therapy speak toxicity, but you know, healthy isolation. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's a thing according to me. But healthy isolation is gonna eventually teach you you don't need to be isolated your whole life, or at least your whole, like, all aspects of your life don't need to be like isolated and shit, like, because personally that's what my isolation teaches me, is the fact that, because, you know, that whole kind of lifestyle where you're just like closed off from everybody, it does get redundant, bro. It just gets boring. And sometimes boring does inspire. Here's the bright side about being bored. You know what I'm saying? You can be so bored that you want to try some new things out. You know what I'm saying? You just want to, now let me just step outside of my gate, man. You know what I'm saying? Let me just like go see people. Like, I'm so bored. Like, I feel it's claustrophobic here. Like, da da da. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the beauty about being bored. It's like isolation is there to, you know, sometimes make you feel so bored that you want to go try out new things. And I feel like that's where the lesson lies. Because some other people, and the ones that cannot handle this isolation thing, is where you identify with it so much that you feel like you can never experience something else. And that's only a lie that you're telling yourself. Because the body does want to go. It's only natural, bro. That's why you can never override that aspect of nature, dog. The fact that the body wants to go and experience other bodies, so to speak. You know what I mean? So by the time you've over-identified with just like being by yourself and this whole isolation thing, it's like you're forcing nature from happening at the same time. You're forcing nature to just like you're forcing yourself to go against the aspect of nature that has to force you to go and experience other aspects of life, just to, you know, just to brighten up the quality of your life. Sometimes it doesn't have to be like always, but then I feel like at that moment, that's when you gotta realize you cannot handle this thing, and you just can't. You're not hearing the lessons that you're supposed to be getting from it. That's how I understand it, and therefore that's why I'm like, yo, I do see my like 9-to-5 environment as my little daily dose of being social. After that, I'm good, bro. It's like, yo, nah, I'm good. After that, I'm tired anyways. We was working, you know what I'm saying? You chop it up with any, you know, whatever. You chop it up with them. You just talk about whatever. Like, you do your work. I come back, I'm good. When I'm home, I'm like, I'm just me. It's either I'm like by myself, just me, or just like kicking it on here. You know what I'm saying? Kicking it with you right now, right? So to me, it's like there's a tasteful way of actually just living this shit out. You know what I mean?
Resilience itself. When we treat every negative feeling as a crisis, we become less capable of handling the normal challenges of life. We start to believe that everything bad is a sign of something wrong, rather than a natural part of the human experience. Therapy is supposed to make us stronger, but therapy speak often teaches people that they are inherently fragile.
Yeah.
When people are constantly told to prioritize comfort over growth, they lose the ability to cope with anything that feels even remotely difficult. Another consequence relates to credibility. When people misuse clinical terms, they weaken the power of those terms for the people who truly need them. It becomes the psychological version of the boy who cried wolf. If everyone describes minor inconveniences as traumatic, well, the word trauma kind of loses its meaning. If everyone claims to be gaslit every time someone disagrees with them, then real gaslighting becomes harder to identify and harder to take seriously. When the severity of a term is diluted, the individuals who genuinely experience it becomes harder to treat someone when the language being used no longer aligns with a clinical reality. And the misuse of therapy speak is also changing how people see each other. Instead of interpreting behavior through the lens of misunderstanding or context or personality, people just default to medicalized judgment. If a friend is being short-tempered with you, you assume
we listen and we don't judge.
Narcissism. If a friend forgets something that you said, you assume manipulation. Everyday relationship mistakes are becoming pathologized. Instead of working through a conflict, people are jumping directly to labeling each other with disorders, and that's wrong. This not only leads to broken relationships, but also teaches people to see others through a lens of suspicion and threat. There's also a broader societal effect. When everything becomes internalized as a personal mental health issue,
that's what I'm saying.
People stop examining external factors like economic pressure, workplace exploitation, community breakdown, or cultural expectations. If you're burnt out, you're told to meditate or cut back on emotion.
Oh shit, the meditation one, right? I know y'all familiar with that one. Yo, meditate through it. Yo, no, pray through it. Oh my god. I feel like, yes, there is, you know, therapy speak, but religious speak, religious judgment speak. Especially, you know what I'm saying? The whole, bless your heart, man. Bless your heart? That's so dismissive. Yeah, I'll pray for you, brother. I'll pray for you. I just gotta get going. Huh? That's mad dismissive, bro. No, fast about it. Fast about it. Pray fast about it. Yo. You know, hey, Aperture, I feel like Aperture gotta cover religious speak. Dismissive religious speak. You know what I'm saying?
Labor rather than questioning the systems that created the burnout in you in the first place.
Yeah.
The social consequences become individual problems, which allows the systems causing these stressors to go ultimately unchallenged. On a personal level, therapy is people in a fixed identity. If you constantly label yourself with clinical terms, you begin to build a sense of self around being damaged, fragile, or limited. Instead of seeing yourself as capable of growth, you start to believe that you're defined by your wounds.
Yeah.
This can lead to a form of self-handicapping where people avoid opportunities because they fear triggering themselves, or avoid relationships because they believe that they don't have the capacity.
Yeah.
In the long run, this reinforces the very issues they are trying to manage.
Yeah, and I feel like, you know, that only comes from the fact that, you know, you see these kind of traits that you believe you're not supposed to be seeing from someone else, and then obviously you're gonna get super dismissive of things, right? To a point where it's like, yo, sometimes when we do establish a relationship, there are aspects of my let me not say my toxicity, but there are aspects of like my shortcomings and shortfalls that, you know, you dealing with that and you growing a tolerance, you know, for all of that, with regards to me and my, you know, my negativity. It's like you learn something about humans where it's like, you know, it's necessary for you to tolerate some of these aspects, some of these shortcomings and shortfalls of people, so that it can make you realize another aspect to humanity. You know what I'm saying? The fact that grace can be given when somebody is like, you know, is not living up to your expectation, or you know what I'm saying? Like, grace can be given, you know, forgiveness. That's where shit like forgiveness can live and all of that. But now, you know, in your mind, you've diagnosed this person as super toxic. So one little mistake, hey, you kick them out. And it's like, you know, obviously you're not gonna, it's gonna, you know, you're not gonna be that person that can be sensitive to see where grace can be applied. So that, you know, grace can be applied on you too. Where you yourself can apply grace, so that grace can be applied on you too. And look, man, another, you know, moment of transparency. There was this one girl, man, that I used to like, you know, talk to over the phone. You know what I'm saying? Like some online situation type thing. You know, we chatting. You know what I'm saying? And I was attracted to like her intellectual side, because, you know, that's what's appealing to me. You know what I mean? Like at first impression type shit. You know what I mean? So we actually never met offline. But, you know, her mind and what she was into, her interests, you know, those were interesting to me. So we kept chopping it up, talking back and forth, you know. And then there was like this one time, because she was also into this toxic speak, right? She was into the toxic speak. We would just like chop up like my toxicities, you know. I would share my toxicities with her. You know what I'm saying? She would share with me her toxicities. You know what I mean? And we would kind of like, oh, here's another one of those therapy speaks, right? We would trauma bond. Oh, you know what I'm saying? We would trauma bond over just like my state of toxicities and my shortcomings, and she would do the same, right? And then we would just like talk about it. Okay, cool. And so fast forward, you know what I'm saying? Couple weeks, couple months. Yo, she's having one of those episodes, bro. And like not like one of those episodes that you dismiss like easily. One of those serious ones. Like the self-deletion ones. Like she was ideating, idealizing, some shit like that, right? So she's texting me. She's like, yo, I'm going through it. I think I'm doing this. I think I'm gonna take myself out today. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, yo, wait, what's going on? Chill. And then she's like, she's going on. She's telling me, bro, like I'm about to, like I'm, and I think she did say she had been diagnosed, I think, with depression. I can't remember whether she was like, yo, it's severe, levels of it, or mild levels of, like, but she depression was there. I don't know, but then I feel like she had self-diagnosed herself with like schizo, like, you know what I'm saying, extreme anxiety, like, you know what I mean, and self-deletion ideation, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, she ended up like just having an episode, right? So I'm like, damn, this person is not even like all the way diagnosed with these things, but she's literally living those things, and she's telling me she's doing this. And bro, she was sending me like pictures of like the bottle of pills, bro, the pills on the palm of her hand. I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, bro, back to the point where I'm like, yo, being used to dismissing people's conditions because, oh shit, I also got my knowledge of this whole therapy speak thing and how I feel about it. So some of these things I don't have the capacity to deal with, so I kind of dismissed it, but like I couldn't, like, I didn't know what to do, bro. So I kind of crashed out. Yeah, I kind of like told her, yo, don't you dare, like one of those, bro, don't fucking do that. Don't be on that. Like telling her like harshly. I don't know. It's just, that's just, that was my first instinct. It a little aggressive. Like I know it's a bit insensitive, but I was scared. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little afraid, you know what I'm saying? And then well, fast forward, she didn't do it, right? She didn't go through with it. And it's one of those things again. It's like I think it was probably her self-diagnosis, her diagnosing herself, making herself believe that, yeah, she's really going through this, and whenever it happens, she got the aesthetic of like how it happens. But she would share with me she's been idealizing offing herself, right, for a minute, but it never really went through because she was still alive. I mean, we were still talking. So I was just like, yo, I don't want to be the first person where it's like you express this thing to me and you really do it. But then again, it's like, yo, it oh my god, it just speaks to, this therapy speak thing where it's like, no, it's not really self-deletion ideation. It's just you, I don't know, it's like your negative self-talk in your head, like just fix that and then none of this thing would be plaguing you like this. I don't know, like, you know what I'm saying? At this point it might just like, yeah, be those kind of things, right? Wait, where's my mouse, nigga?
Another subtle consequence is the false sense of superiority that therapy speak can create. Because the language sounds clinical, people begin to feel morally or intellectually above others who do not know the terminology.
Yeah.
It creates a hierarchy where the person using therapy speak seems enlightened, while the person using normal language seems uneducated or emotionally immature. This dynamic breaks down communication further because it replaces empathy with condescension. Finally, therapy speak can erode genuine emotional expression.
There we go.
People stop saying things like, I'm hurt, I'm mad, or I'm confused. Instead, they use scripted phrases like, I feel unsafe, or I do not have the emotional capacity. And these phrases, sure, they sound refined, but they often...
It's not me, it's you. Okay, nah, that one, nah. I don't think that one is part of it, right? It's not me, it's you. No.
hide the actual real emotions underneath. The person speaking feels protected, but the person listening is feeling shut out. In trying to appear composed, people sacrifice authenticity, and as a result, emotional connection becomes harder, not easier. These consequences show how therapy speak, when misapplied, does not only fail to help, it can actively undermine mental health. It creates distance instead of closeness, fragility instead of resilience, and misunderstanding instead of clarity. What therapy actually is for.
Let's get to it.
Therapy speak has drifted far from its original purpose, but the solution is not to abandon therapy language altogether. Let's make that clear right here.
Make it clear then.
The real solution is to understand what therapy is actually designed to do. Because when therapy is practiced correctly, it is a tool that helps people open up. It teaches you how to
That's what it's supposed to do.
let people in safely, not completely shut everyone out. Good therapy helps you remove the internal debris that gets in the way of genuine connection. It helps you grow your capacity, not shrink it. It expands your ability to handle discomfort and maintain relationships even during difficult times.
Yep.
One of the biggest failures of therapy speak is that it encourages people to project their psychological insights onto others. It is almost always outward facing. People say things like, "You're toxic,"
Yes.
"You're a narcissist,"
That's
"You're
it.
gaslighting."
What else?
Well, real therapy is meant to flip that attention inward. It asks you to question your own
Yourself. Label yourself as gaslighting. Label yourself as this and that and the third. Then once you see the bogusness of that, to be like, because now you understand your own intentions when you do shit. Right? So you'll understand that, no, man, I'm not being freaking narcissistic. I'm just being, you know what I'm saying? I'm just putting myself as highest priority. That's it.
interpretations. It asks you to investigate your role in conflict. It encourages self-reflection by asking questions like, am I being reasonable? Am I reacting
Damn, why those knees so freaking fat, bro? Fat knees
to the
ass.
situation or to something from my past? And is my boundary genuinely protective, or is it another form of control? A healthy therapeutic mindset requires humility. It means acknowledging that your perspective is not the only perspective. It means understanding that other people have emotional needs too.
They do?
Therapy is not meant to give you the moral high ground. I don't believe it ever was meant to do that. It is meant to help you understand yourself well enough that you can navigate relationships with empathy
That's
and
good.
accountability.
Here we go.
Another key principle is reciprocity. Therapy does not teach you to cut everyone off the moment they It teaches you
Shit, boys. I feel like I got a whole lot of work to do on that front. I'm not gonna lie. I got a whole lot of work to do on the front of don't just cut people off, based off of some little shit. I'm not gonna lie, some little shit.
how to communicate through those disappointments. It teaches you to show up for others just as you expect them to show up for you.
For you, yeah, that's true.
Many people misunderstand self-care as a solitary pursuit, but true self-care includes the health of your relationships. You
Right.
owe your friends kindness. You owe your partner patience. You owe your community presence. Healthy relationships are not built on rigid individualism. They're built on mutual support. Real therapy is also about cultivating resilience. Feeling anxious does not mean that you must avoid the situation forever. Feeling angry does not mean something has violated a boundary. Feeling sad does not mean that you are broken. Emotions are signals, not diagnosis. Therapy helps you understand those signals without creating catastrophic interpretations around them.
Right.
When therapy is practiced as intended, it does not reduce the world to a psychological battlefield. It teaches you how to interpret behavior in context. It helps you understand the difference between someone who is actively harmful and someone who is flawed but trying their best. It gives you the ability to separate normal relational friction from genuine abuse.
Nice.
In its real form, therapy is a bridge, never a wall.
Not a wall.
How to use therapy language responsibly. If there's one message, one key takeaway at the end of all of this,
What is it?
It is that language matters. The words we use shape how we see the world and how we relate to the people in it. Therapy speak can be incredibly helpful in the right context, but outside of those contexts, it can also distort reality and damage
Can be toxic. Let's do it.
relationships. The goal isn't to throw out therapeutic language, but to return it to its proper place. And the first step, drop the script. When you're talking to a friend or a partner,
Drop the
use
script.
authentic language instead of the polished, professionalized vocabulary.
Yeah, polished, professionalized vocabulary with the whole script of like, really, like, if you really want to know how I'm doing, don't just ask that like passing through, bro. Really stop to consider what I'm going through, like how I am. Like, how are you doing, buddy? Yeah, how you doing? How you? No, there's no how you doing, and then you pass. What are we doing? How are you doing? Look me in my face. Let me tell you how I'm doing. You want a drink? What do you want? You know, we got Henny, we got Coke, we got, you know, water. We got Sprite. We got Cappy juice. Like, what do you need? Let me break down to you how I am. And then we start from the very beginning. The day I was born-ish. Nah. Okay, not from the day you was born, but yo, like that whole, yo, how you doing? And then you pass, come on, bro. Like, do you seriously want to know, brother? That's a script. And that's just a trivial example, but things like that, though, right? As an example.
Area of therapy speak. It is much better to say that you are hurt than to say that you feel unsafe. It is much better to say that I do not like what you said than to say that that is toxic.
Right.
When you use the more clinical phrasing, you often obscure you're talking to. Sure, you sound more sophisticated, but you don't sound more honest. People cannot connect with a script. They connect with you. The next step is to remember that context matters. Clinical language is appropriate in clinical settings or in situations that are genuinely severe. If you are experiencing abuse, coercion, or trauma, these terms are absolutely legitimate. But in everyday friction, the more clinical the language becomes, the more dramatic and unhelpful the interaction tends to be. Not every disagreement is a disorder, not every argument is a manipulation, and not every mistake is a violation.